Over the last 2 years, I've worked with brands like Sephora, Scotiabank, Truly Hard Seltzer, and more, all while running a product portion of my business, going to markets and selling my work. Of course, with great opportunities comes a lot of ups and downs and lessons learned along the way. So today we're going to take a dive into 12 major lessons I've learned as a full-time freelance illustrator. This is going to go really in depth, so grab a beverage, open up your notes app, and let's get started. So many artists think they need a huge audience in order to get hired. But what if I told you that's actually not true? There's a huge misconception that having more followers is what's gonna get you more clients. And while sure, having more followers may grab a client's attention faster, it's ultimately not what's gonna make them reach out to you. Here are 12 lessons I learned as a full-time freelance illustrator. That is a mouthful. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Safra. I've been working as a full-time freelance illustrator for about 2.5 years now. Before that, I was doing it part-time as a hobby, and these are the lessons that I've learned along the way. And I'm here today to share with you all of these lessons and mistakes that I've made and I've learned so that you, as you're going through this journey, you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. Let me be your big sister in this, okay? And I'm gonna hold your hand while I teach you all these lessons. So yes, back to lesson 1. Followers and social media. Basically, when I went full-time 2 years ago, I had barely any followers, like maybe 1,000. And right now, currently on Instagram, I have about 3,500. So I still don't have a huge account. However, all of my clients find me through Instagram. And some of those clients have been Sephora, Scotiabank, Truly Hard Seltzer, HGTV, you name it. I remember getting the initial email from Sephora last year and opening it, and I was shocked. Like, I literally thought it was scam. I thought it was a scam. I'm like, there's no way Sephora is reaching out to me, someone with barely any followers, and like, I'm not that big yet. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, you know. I was genuinely shocked, but obviously they were real and the collab ended up happening. And so you're probably wondering, how did they find me? What made me stand out? Well, like I said, they found me through social media, and what made me stand out was posting consistently, not having the most followers, not having necessarily the highest engagement at that time. It was just showing up every single day on Instagram. I shared every little project, every little commission, every little win. I shared it on Instagram as this big thing because what's a big thing? Like, when you're first starting out, every little milestone, every little win is a huge thing, and you need to celebrate it and be proud of yourself, but also posting it allows you to create more content and post consistently when you are using all those wins as content. And what this does is, one, it feeds the algorithm a little bit. Sometimes you have to play the algorithm game, and by posting a lot, it helps your stuff appear more on Instagram. Instagram says, okay, this is an active user, let's keep showing their stuff, which is good for you. And 2, it positioned me as an experienced illustrator because I was sharing all these little wins as a huge deal. So, you know, on the outside looking in, I was like, okay, like, this girl's winning, she knows what she's doing. And I'll let you in on a little secret, I was still figuring it out. I, in fact, did not know everything at that time, and I still don't know everything. I'm still learning. So my tip is, when you're making content on Instagram, instead of asking, how do I reach the most people, ask yourself, what would my dream client be searching for, and how can I post that type of content consistently? My ideal client, what are they typing in on Instagram? What hashtags are they using? What content material would excite them and make them want to reach out to me? And let that be your guiding force as to the type of content you're creating. Don't focus on the numbers, focus on the quality of what it is that you're posting and the subject matter of what it is that you're posting. It's not about how many people see your work, it's about the right people seeing your work. Lesson number 2 is that creating work that looks like trash is so underrated. With what I stated in lesson number 1 of constantly posting on social media, while it does have its perks, it also makes it hard to experiment because you're constantly creating for the algorithm, and you're constantly creating content that you need to post that is going to reach your audience. And I'm not saying don't do that, because if that was the case, I wouldn't have had that as a lesson. But what I am saying is, make time to create work that is inherently bad. Why do I say this? Well, when you create just for yourself, when you create knowing that nobody on earth is gonna see this content, you are allowing yourself to experiment. You're allowing yourself to try out new techniques, new shading methods, new subject matters, and obviously it's gonna be bad when you try new stuff out, but this is how you're gonna learn and grow. If you're constantly creating the exact same characters, the exact same scenes, your work is gonna become a little bit stale. Like, yes, on one hand, you are gonna become really good at what you're good at, but you also want to allow yourself to grow and get better. And, 10 years down the road, you don't wanna be creating the exact same art. You want to be able to say that you've advanced as an artist, and you cannot advance if you don't experiment, and to experiment means to make bad work. Some of my most inspiring creative days are when I do random doodles and studies. For example, if I do random plant studies or insect studies. For a bit, I wanted to start drawing animals as my subject matter, so I started sketching out animals, and they're so bad, and I'm probably sharing them with you on the screen right now, which I never thought I would share them, which is kind of cringe, but I'm just sharing them to really show you that they are gonna look bad, but that's how you grow. You're gonna say, okay, I like drawing ears of a bunny this way, or I like drawing my leaves this way. So now when you actually go to illustrating on Illustrator, Procreate, whatever it is that you use, you kind of have a sense of how you like to create that leaf or those bunny ears, and you're not completely, how can I say, like starting without any direction, Honestly though, this mindset led me to a pretty cool win. I remember one day I was just creating for fun and experimenting with color and shapes, and I came out with this illustration that I really liked, and that illustration actually got me on a collective arts can. So that one was sold all over the country, all over North America, and my art was on it, and that was a piece that they really liked. That was a piece that came out of experimenting and just like having fun and creating work that I thought was bad, but it wasn't bad. It was just a product of trying a new style out. So next time you're feeling stuck or uninspired, create something just for you. No expectations, no audience, just pure creativity and fun and playfulness, and you never know what can come out of that. On the same note of trying something new, I recently tried these new earrings from this brand called Luisa. So let's take a quick second to talk about these earrings because they were so kind to send me these earrings to try out for this video. So we're gonna talk about them. Luisa creates high quality jewelry at affordable prices. Their designs are unique and fun and will make you feel elegant and put together, just like I do in these earrings. Not to mention, they are carbon neutral from their packaging to their products because they actually care about their impact on the planet, which is something I try to look for in any of the brands that I support and buy from. Each piece is long lasting, hypoallergenic, and water resistant. Plus, it comes with a 2-year warranty on all products, which shows you just how confident the brand is in their designs. As an artist, I just had to take a moment to appreciate this packaging, this font, this lettering. It's so cute. The use of color, I absolutely adore this, and I have to shout out this packaging because I was pleasantly surprised when I opened this. I was like, oh, pretty cute. Let's try the earrings on. Recently, I switched all of my jewelry to gold, or at least I'm trying. So I have this gold necklace that I was gifted as a baby, but I lack rings and earrings. This first pair is absolutely gorgeous. They're just like these loop earrings. So they're kind of like a link chain. That's what it reminds me of. Oh my God, look. These are just so elegant, and they're like simple. They give the clean girl aesthetic, but it just makes me feel really put together, okay? I've always been a hoop girly for as long as I can remember. I love hoops. They're like my everyday earrings. I had them in silver, but they recently broke. So this is kind of like an elevated look to the hoop. This pair I know I'm gonna like. These are great replacement as my everyday gold hoops. Oh, I feel like even if I wear like a tracksuit or a sweatsuit and I wanna just like oomph and give that, I guess, that whole clean girl put together vibe, even though I'm in tracks and probably no makeup, this is like a really good pair to just throw on and kind of complete your little look. Thank you, Luisa, for sending these beautiful earrings over. Now let's get back to the lessons. Lesson number 3 is that you can and you should ask for help. In the age of social media and hustle culture, everybody loves this self-made title to prove that you did everything on your own. But what if I told you that doing it alone is actually what's holding you back? I used to honestly pride myself in doing everything alone, from managing my socials, to posting my content, to editing my videos, to coming up with ideas, writing emails, all that stuff, on top of making my artwork. I was like, damn, I can do anything, I'm amazing, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, yeah, it is a little bit empowering, but I was exhausted. I was constantly tired. I was constantly struggling to make time for a social life, to make time to do stuff for fun. I was constantly working to the point of burnout. Humanly, you cannot do everything on your own, and that is totally okay. Like, it's not humanly possible for us to be able to do everything if you want to also have a fulfilled, well-rounded life aside from your art business. Your zone of genius is creating. So if marketing, the business side of it, the admin side of it isn't your thing, that is okay. Find somebody who is good at it and ask them for advice, ask them for help, ask them for tips. The real skill here is honestly understanding that you can't do everything alone and asking for help. I think it takes a lot for someone to ask for that help when they need it, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of, I guess, ego death to come to terms with that. And I think it's powerful. It's so powerful to be like, hey, you know what? I can't do everything alone. Let me ask for help. And that makes you a self-aware queen. Trust me. Honestly, help doesn't have to be complicated or expensive, because that's something that I was scared of as well. Is like, I don't have the money to pay for somebody to help me out, but it does not have to be complicated or expensive. It can be as simple as reaching out to a friend or a mentor or someone who is a little bit higher up than you and buying them coffee or buying them lunch and just asking if you can spend time with them to ask them a few questions. You can also take so many free online classes and courses, as well as Skillshare. Skillshare membership, I think, is only like $100 or something for the year. Don't quote me on that. It's not that expensive if you really break it down, and it's an investment because there is unlimited library of things that you can learn and develop. So in that sense, you don't have to feel like you're doing it all alone and learning it blindly. You're kind of getting that guidance from people who know what they're doing. You can also hire interns in exchange for class credits. This is something that's increasingly becoming popular. You just reach out to local universities and colleges, and there are always going to be programs that are, students need credits in order to, they need to work a job for 4 to 8 months, and you're a business, you're an illustrator, so you can easily hire them to help with your marketing or your admin, and they'll willingly do it because they're getting credits, and you get someone for 4 to 8 months for free, which is amazing. And don't sleep on asking your loved ones for help, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a partner, a friend, anywhere they can help, whether it's helping you while you're filming to help your setup, helping you promote on social media, or asking for their advice on a specific post or color palette. Don't be afraid to ask your loved ones for help and for advice. And these are gonna be your highest unpaid employees. They are mine. Something that I do a lot is reaching out to artists for advice over DMs, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and I just honestly ask them for little things such as what's your experience been like working with this specific art director, tips on reaching out to brands that they've worked with, or even how much they would charge for a specific type of project if it's new to me and I know that they've worked on it before. The thing with this is you need to be mindful. Not everybody is willing to share, and that is okay. You cannot blame people for not wanting to give out all their advice, but just be careful who you're asking and how you're asking it, because one, you never want to come across as using people, and I would say ask people that you feel comfortable with, people that you constantly engage with and they know who you are, and maybe they engage back with you, because they're going to be more willing to help than if you were to reach out to a complete stranger, like an artist that you never talk to, never engage with. They might not answer, or they might feel like you're using them. So that's something to be mindful of, but don't be afraid to shoot your shot at the end of the day. Lesson 4 is one of the most important practical lessons I can teach you guys, which is don't do anything without a contract. Don't do it. And that's why I put the camera so far, because otherwise I'm gonna really yell at you if you're really close to me. So we're leaving it over there so I can create some distancing, I know how exciting it can be to get approached by your dream client and wanting to jump right into the project right away, because it's just oh my God, yes, I want to work with you. Let's do this. Let's get it started. I don't want you to change your mind, so let's just go for it. I get it. But listen, until there's an actual contract, the project does not exist, okay? I need you to hone that into your brain. Without a contract, the project does not exist. Repeat after me. Without a contract, the project does not exist. I do not care if the deadline is tight and you want to get ahead of things while you're still going back and forth with things. Do not start. You can always negotiate the timeline, okay? Let's say the back and forth takes so long, and by the time you guys actually sign the contract and come to an agreement with things, you only have a week to finish the project. You can actually negotiate that in that contract, that You have 3 weeks from when the contract is signed. You just don't want to get burned, okay? Do you know how many times I've started projects while we were still in talks back and forth and the project has fallen through? So now I've wasted hours for nothing on this sketch. I've gotten my hopes up, and guess what? I didn't get paid for any of it. But beyond that, contracts protect your work. You need to have in writing how much you're getting paid, when you're getting paid, and what are the usage rights of your artwork. Because the worst thing that could honestly happen is you create a project, you create some illustrations for a brand, and you thought it was just like a one-time campaign for something they're launching, and now a year has passed and they're still using your work, they're slapping it on merch that they're selling, and you are not getting a dime of it. That is like the worst thing that can happen. You can't even fight that because in the contract you've signed over the rights to your artwork and they technically own it and they can do whatever they want for however long they want, and like now you're burned. Now they own the IP to your art. You are the artist, you are the illustrator, you own the IP to your work. We can get into a whole video on contracts, but I am just a girl. I'm not a lawyer, so if you can, seek legal advice where you can on this part of things, but I just think the key thing you need to take away here is to always have some sort of signed contract between both parties so you guys know what you're signing up for. You need a hobby. No, seriously. I'm gonna hold your hand when I ask you this, but do you even have hobbies anymore? Really think about it. Do you? Or did you accidentally turn your hobby into your career like me? This is lesson 5. Get a freaking hobby. Seriously. If you're an illustrator, chances are you turned your hobby into your career. You liked to draw, you enjoyed it, it was fun at first, and you're like, hey, I can actually make money out of it because this is not that bad and people are enjoying it. So yeah, now it's your job. First of all, congrats. That is amazing that you were able to turn your passion into your career. Not a lot of people can do that. But now I have to ask you, what do you do for fun? That's what I thought. Now listen, I get it. When you're freelancing, it feels like you need to spend every waking minute either making art or promoting your artwork and showing it to the world and putting it out because you're basically running a business now. But you are gonna burn yourself out so quickly that way. Hobbies will allow you to get inspired, explore your creativity, and honestly, they just make you a better, well-rounded human being because too much of one thing is never good. And think of it, if you're trying to be with a partner and all they do is work, would you find that attractive? Would you find that someone that you desire to spend your time with? Probably not. So be the person that you want to be with or be around, okay? And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love what I do. I love illustration and I love getting to create for a job. But as soon as I turned my hobby into my job, there was this added pressure. And I'm sure a lot of you who do this full time or for some sort of money can feel that pressure of constantly needing to be on and constantly needing to create work that is tasteful for a large audience. And it kind of just sucks the fun out of things sometimes. It's like, okay, now I'm not just creating for fun. I'm creating with these expectations to make money and to have people connect with my work. You're commercializing yourself, basically. So that's when I realized I needed to do something that was just for me. And some examples of some things I started doing was I started gaming, so I have my Switch over there. I started reading more. You saw my bookshelf earlier of some of the books I've been reading. I started coloring, ironically, not ironically, because again, I love color in my artwork. So coloring gave me the ability to be able to continue to explore color without the pressure of having to draw and having it be my own work. And I just been going to the gym and working out more often, and this has honestly been a great hobby for me mentally, emotionally, physically, and overall. That boost that you get from working out, I'm able to bring it into my work. None of these things technically have anything to do with my business, minus maybe coloring, I guess. And I don't need to post them online. I don't need to commercialize them. I don't need to wow anybody with them. I'm just doing them simply for me. And it allows me to re-spark my creativity. It allows me to take a break from my artwork. And it overall just inspires me again. And because of that, now when I sit back down to illustrate and actually create for my job, I feel refreshed. I don't feel burnt out. I was able to scratch the creative itch in other ways with like a boundless feeling. So now when I come into work, I don't feel like, oh, I have to stick to these brand guidelines. Oh, I want to be creative and do more fun stuff. This sucks. No, because I was able to scratch that creative itch in other ways, and now I can stick to the brand guidelines while still staying true to my style and who I am as an illustrator. So yeah, get a hobby. Lesson number 6. There is more than enough success to go around, so stop comparing other people's wins to your losses. I know how disheartening it can be to have a dream client or a dream project fall through. I mean, I can't even count How many times has this happened to me and I've been so freaking sad about it and wallowed in my sadness? I feel like we've all been there. In fact, I've even gotten rejected by a client. Actually, not even rejected, ghosted by a client, only to months later see them work with an artist that I actually know and follow. And that hurted right here, because I'm like, why did you reject me and then go and work with somebody I know? And of course I started spiraling. Some of the things I started thinking about was like, why would they pick them over me? Is my work not good enough? Did I say something wrong? Should I change my style to match that other artist's style? Like, all these natural things started spiraling in my brain and I started comparing myself. But then here's the thing I realized: the second you start comparing yourself to other people, you start devaluing your uniqueness and what makes you special and what makes you different as an illustrator. You have worked so freaking hard to develop your style and develop your unique voice as an illustrator. So the second that you start comparing your work to others and your success to others, you are stripping away everything that makes you stand out and everything that a client would actually want to hire you for in the first place. So you're kind of like going through this endless loop of like, oh, they picked that person over me, so I should change to be that person. Well, now because you look more like that person, the client probably won't hire you because they're like, well, we already worked with someone with this style. So you're actually like doing yourself a big disservice. You have to stick to your unique style, and the clients that want to work with you will eventually come around and work with you. People don't hire you because your work looks like everyone else's. They hire you because your work is uniquely you. And in the world where AI art and AI is becoming increasingly more popular and easy to access, it is so important that your work stands out and tells your story as a human, because that's what's going to make people want you over AI, over other people as well. And beyond that, when you fall into the comparison trap, you are operating from a scarcity mindset. And again, mindset is another video that I can go into full detail about, because this has helped me so much in my own business, and where I am today and who I am today is literally my mindset. But to keep it short and simple for the sake of this video, the more you focus on what you don't have, the more you're enforcing that lack and the lack mindset. So that's what's gonna keep showing up in your life. But the more that you focus on what you do have and your potential, you will see more success coming through. So don't limit your potential. Think of how much abundance there is in opportunities and clients and successes and wins for you, and that's what will start coming into your life. All you can do is keep showing up, stay true to yourself and your style, and trust that what is meant for you will always find you. Lesson 7. Let go of the timeline. When I quit my job to be a full-time illustrator, I had a timeline and a plan of how I thought life would go. I thought in 5 years, I'll have it all. A thriving career, a house, a husband, and maybe even a child on the way. But here's what no one tells you. That timeline, it doesn't actually exist. You can do everything in your power to try to make something you want happen. Put in the work, market yourself, chase every single opportunity, but external forces can shift everything at any second. Clients cut budgets, projects fall through, and ultimately life just happens, honestly. And I know this firsthand. I'm about to turn 27, and if you asked me a few years ago, I would have told you I'd be at the top of my career and had my personal life figured out. But in reality, I'm still building my business. I'm growing my career to where I want it to be. It's nowhere near there yet. I'm newly single after a 4+ year relationship with someone that I thought I was gonna marry. And yeah, there's no chance of a kid anytime soon. At first, I spiraled and I thought, did I mess up? Should I have stayed in my stable job instead of quitting my job to do this? Perhaps this risk was too big, and if I stayed at that job, I would have achieved a lot of these career goals already. But here's what I realized. I am the first woman in my lineage to choose passion over a safe career. I get to work for myself and build an impactful career that actually makes a difference and makes me feel fulfilled in this life, even though it's taking a little longer than expected. I have had opportunities I could not have ever imagined, and worked with brands I could have only dreamed of, brands that I used to use as a child and growing up and still to this day use. And more importantly, I get to literally create for a living. Like, what? That's the dream. You get to create for a living. You get to great. Freelancing and being an illustrator and a creative, it doesn't come with a roadmap. Some people hit their peak at 40, some people hit their peak at 20, and that is okay because all of that is part of your journey, and it's what makes you you and uniquely you, and it's part of your unique story. So, I mean, sure, maybe I won't be married or have a kid until after my 30s. I've accepted it. When it comes, it'll come. But until then, I'm gonna keep creating, I'm gonna keep learning, and trust that everything in life is gonna unfold as it's supposed to do. Lesson number 8. Every single thing that you've learned up until now, throw it in the trash. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. So here's the thing. The rules of creating obviously exist for a reason. We know that blue and orange look good together, so when we are looking for good colors to use in our compositions, we're likely going to pair those two together because they'll make your piece look good. However, sometimes rules can be limiting and block your creative choices. Let me explain. For so many years, I debated going back to school so that I could study art. When I took my hobby of illustration full time, I felt like there was so much technical knowledge that I lacked, and I was worried that my art wouldn't be valid to some clients because I was all self-taught. But you know what? Honestly, not knowing the rules gave me so much creative freedom. This is so embarrassing, but I'm not even joking. I didn't really honestly know what complementary colors really were until one day I used two colors that looked good together and I Googled why because I was curious. And that's when I figured out what color theory actually was. I wasn't exactly following a formula. Instead, I was just trusting my gut and my creative instinct to take me to where I wanted to go. And that is exactly how I developed my signature style, such as my color palettes, my characters. And of course, I've hit tons of roadblocks, like for example, how to draw hands. I know we've all been there, trust me, it's not as easy as it looks, but when those roadblocks came up, I would just Google it. I would watch tutorials on YouTube University right here, and then I would figure it out as the problem came. So instead of overloading my brain with a ton of information in the beginning and trying to learn the right ways before actually creating, I just created and figured out the rules as I went, and honestly, sometimes I made up the rules. You don't need to know the rules before you start, okay? A lot of the times, waiting until we know everything will stop us and limit us from actually starting because we feel like we have to get all this information correct before actually starting, and likely you're not ever going to start when you do that. Because to be honest, if I waited to learn things the right way before I actually started, I probably would have never discovered my individual style, and I probably would be drawing completely different right now. So yes, the rules are a good guide, but that's all they should be. Don't let them dictate how you create. Let your curiosity do that. And if you feel the urge to break the rules, do it, because that is when the best work will come out of you. Lesson number 9. Trends will inevitably die. And when they do, who are you as an illustrator? And listen. I'm not saying don't hop on the trends because they will help you grow and get more views and attention and growth. But what I am saying here is without the trends, who are you? If someone saw your work without your name on it, would they recognize it? Would they recognize that you made it? Now listen, there's one thing to have a personal illustration style. An example of this is what kind of colors you use, how you draw your hands, like maybe you draw them really, really big, for example. But it's another thing to have a conceptual identity. For example, I am passionate about wellness, travel, and fashion, so naturally my work represents those concepts. I draw a lot of figures doing yoga, wearing streetwear-inspired outfits that I would actually wear, and add a lot of nature elements such as flowers, leaves, plants, stuff like that I enjoy and makes my work uniquely me, as well as travel-inspired prints, of course, because I love to travel. So now let's say I decide to hop on the cowboy core trend. Shout out Beyonce. Would I be completely changing my style? No, I wouldn't. I would probably draw somebody doing some type of yoga in nature. They'd be rocking a cool outfit, but now maybe I'd add some cowboy boots or a cowboy hat. So yes, I am playing into the trend, but I'm still keeping it conceptually me, and people will know that it's me because of the concept matter on top of my illustration style. So at the end of the day, trends will come and go, but what makes you artistically you is your conceptual identity. So let me ask you this. If all of the trends disappeared tomorrow, what is something about your work that would still make it uniquely you? Comment down below and let me know. So lesson number 10 is something that I feel like I talk about a lot, but it's one of those things where like you feel like you talk about a lot, but then you're like, wait, do I talk about it enough? So I'm adding it to this. And it is the fact that breaks are actually very, very productive. Yes, doing nothing absolutely nothing is very productive. And I don't mean that in a sarcastic way, even though it probably does sound like I do. As creatives, illustrators, people who do this full time, we are constantly grinding, hustling, doing everything we can to get our work out there and to put out new work. But here's the thing. Some of my best ideas have come to me when I'm not trying at all. This, for example, is in the shower, while I'm about to fall asleep at night, when I'm driving. These are moments where my brain is just able to think without pressure and just be itself. And I have some of the best ideas. You know how many voice notes I have in my phone, or like I'm just like, hey Siri, write in my voice note, and it's in my notes app. I mean, homegirl just adds it to the notes app, which love her for that.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please say that again?
Never mind, Siri. This girl's always listening. That's scared me a little, jump scare. I used to feel so guilty when I wasn't actively drawing, emailing clients, or working on something productive for my business. I thought if I wasn't physically creating or working towards my business, I wasn't making positive progress and I was gonna fail. That's like the truth. I thought I was gonna fail if I wasn't doing something, and it gives me chills thinking about that, because that's like a real thought that I've had for many years, and a thought that sometimes I still fight to this day of like when I'm just chilling and reading a fantasy book, I'm like, I should be drawing right now, I should be planning, I should be making content, I should be emailing people. Like, it's so freaking toxic and it's so consuming. But forcing yourself to be on all the time is the fastest way to burnout and killing your creativity. And it will also make you create very uninspired and bleh artwork, like super bleh. Your brain needs space to wander, and creativity needs space to think without pressure. Like I said earlier, my best ideas come when I'm driving, in the shower, laying in bed, staring at the ceiling. And if you really think about why that is, it's because your brain in that moment is not overloaded with tasks, the pressure to make money like we talked about earlier, the pressure to create for other people. It just has the freedom to think and be its most authentic self. So when you're feeling stuck, take time away from your desk, go on a walk, go to the gym, play sports, do one of your hobbies that we talked about that you have brainstormed now or you're thinking about. Yeah, do your hobbies. Create bad work like we talked about earlier, work that no one's ever gonna see. Those are some things that you can do when you are feeling uninspired or you feel like you need a break. So lesson number 11, I feel like this one's gonna be a little controversial and not a lot of people are gonna agree or like this one, but it's one of the lessons that I've really taken into account in my own journey. So we're gonna share it inevitably. And if you're a hater, you're a hater. What am I gonna do? But having too many goals is a little problematic. And this is a lesson that I have learned this year in the past few months. And it's something I'm taking into this year with me, is limiting my goals. And that sounds weird because it's like, hey, you want to be successful. Why would I limit my goals and my potential and what I want to create? But I will explain, so stick with me here. I feel like when you have too many goals, you're not making enough progress. As creatives, we have a million things that we could be doing in our business, like we've talked about a lot so far. And if you try to do everything, you'll end up achieving nothing or very minimal because you're spreading yourself way too thin. That's why I think it's so important to focus on 2 to 3 big goals in a year. I know that seems crazy, only 2 to 3. The reason I realized this is because in the past 2 years of me doing this full time, I would have like 5 to 6 goals. Like I even made a YouTube video, I think going into 2024 of my goals. And I think I had 6 goals that I wanted to achieve. And they were all really good goals. And I made progress of all of those goals throughout the year, but I don't think there's one goal that I like really profoundly broke through and grew in and hit and grew. Like I think I made a little bit of progress towards all 6 of those, which was good. But I think inherently when you're really trying to achieve something big, which if you're a full-time illustrator or creative, you probably are trying to achieve something big, which is working with your big clients, maybe reaching a follower count, whatever it may be, you need to just focus on those few goals and really go in on all those, really put your all into those goals. Another example is when I first went full time, I also started taking on projects that weren't really aligned because I needed to make money and I just thought they would all help my career. So I would do like random pet portraits, random couple portraits, random UGC videos because I knew I wanted to make content. So I thought, hey, maybe if I do UGC videos, it'll help get me exposure and all those things. Like I told myself these would all actively help my business in the long run. But in reality, I was just keeping myself busy. This was all what you call busy work. work rather than me actually actively working towards my goal, which was working with my dream clients and growing my community online. For the sake of really hitting this one home, I'm going to use this example that is outside of what we do. So think of a writer, for example. Imagine a writer trying to release their debut novel and they know they need to release it at the end of this year. Are they going to spend time putting together their book cover and learning how to illustrate and graphic design so they can create that book cover by the end of the year? No, they are going to get help, one of the tips we talked about, and they are going to hire someone else to create that cover for them so they can spend all their time writing day in and day out, just writing, because that is what they're good at and their goal is to release their novel. So why would they not write, you know? If your goal, for example, is to get a licensing deal with Target and be an artist that creates on their notebooks, what are you gonna do? You keep creating and posting artwork that would look good on notebooks, like use mock-ups, for example, and you strategically reach out to Target and the people in charge of that when the time is right. What you don't do is start taking on a bunch of side quests like I did and one-off random projects that aren't gonna get you to the goal of working with Target. So at the end of the day, remember that your actions align with your goals. Always ask yourself when you're about to take on a new project, a new client, a new commission, a new side quest, does this side quest, does this project align with where I want to be with my goals by the end of this year? I'm not saying don't do the side things. I'm not saying don't experiment and don't have fun, because that goes against a lot of the things I said in this video, but I would just make sure, like, is this actually going to benefit me, my career? Is it going to help me reach my goals? If not, if this is a random side quest, like, maybe don't do it. Maybe think twice before spending your time and energy on it, because you don't want to spread yourself too thin and you want to make sure you're really hitting that one goal instead of like dispersing yourself evenly throughout 6 goals. You just want to, because I feel like that's where you're going to find the most growth. Drop your 2 to 3 main goals right now for the year. I told you mine, so now I want to hear yours. And lastly, lesson number 12, rejection is just redirection. I know this is a quote that we hear all the time, but I really want you to take a second and think about what this actually means. Like, don't let this go over your head and, you know, when you're out the other, really think about what I'm about to say here. The reality of being a full-time freelancer, a full-time illustrator, a full-time creative is that you are going to hit a lot of roadblocks, okay? It's not going to be smooth sailing. You are going to be rejected a lot, especially in the beginning when you're growing and you may not have the most notable clients to base off of. I have lost count of the amount of times I have been rejected for dream projects, and these are things where clients have reached out to me and come to me and been like, actually, never mind. And I've always wondered, like, what did I do wrong? I always think it's my fault and that I did something wrong. But the reality is it just likely wasn't meant for you in that moment. Maybe they reached out, maybe something changed on the back end. It really doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you and who you are as an artist. So you need to have resilience and you need to not let that affect you, because it's so easy. It's so easy to let that make you feel like crap and be like, I'm not good enough. Why did they reject me? I clearly am doing something wrong. Like I said earlier, and comparing yourself to other artists, comparing yourself to other people. And you know, there have been so many times where I'm like, should I go back to my 9 to 5? Like, am I even supposed to be a full-time illustrator? Is this even for me? But the second you give up is the second you know this wasn't meant for you. If you're gonna give up, this career wasn't meant for you. It sounds kind of mean, right? But I truly believe in life, there is no way you can fail if you don't give up. If you are resilient and you keep trying and you keep going after every rejection, how can you possibly fail? Think about it like this, okay? If you knew your dream, your goal, your vision, everything you've been working towards is gonna come true in a few years or whatever, maybe there's no timeline, you just know that this is gonna come true, wouldn't every no make you excited? Because every no is just getting you closer to that big yes of having everything come true. Think about that. That's basically what life is. Every no is getting you closer to that big yes. You may not know when it's coming, how it's coming, in what form, but you need to trust that it is coming, and it is coming because you're constantly putting yourself out there, because you're following all the tips that I gave you earlier of being consistent, of taking breaks, of asking for help. Like, how could it not find you? You may not know when, but you need to trust that it will find you, and the only way it will is if you don't give up. The second you give up, that's it. It's gone. It's not going to come to you. So keep pushing. And maybe if you did give up, that's fine. Get back on it. You know, just because you gave up doesn't mean it's the end of the road. You can easily get back on it and continue trying and continue putting yourself out there. Keep going, don't give up, keep trying. Be resilient, because what is meant for you will always, 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 always find you. You just have to have faith. You have to trust in God, in the universe, in yourself, whatever it is that you believe in. Trust, okay? And follow all these practical tips and all these lessons I gave you so you don't have to make the mistakes that I did. Those are my 12 lessons that I learned being a full-time freelance illustrator. If you have anything that you've learned in your time as well as a creative, be sure to drop it down below so we can learn and share from each other and continue the conversation, because why should others go through the hardships when we have already gone through them? So let's support each other and be kind in the comments. Once again, thank you, Luisa, for sending me these adorable earrings. If you want to shop affordable luxury earrings, my link will be down below, so make sure to go check them out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.